tried to kick him, I just put halfway his feet in my face. And they stopped there, I pose. They asked me, how is it? Good. What can I say?
For years, Sammo Hung, the legendary martial artist and action star, remained silent about Bruce Lee. Now, at 72, he finally speaks out. Bruce Lee, the man who changed martial arts forever, was a mystery to many, but Sammo knew him personally.
I should have fight with the Bruce Lee. Did you heard the story? Before he just came from American for the visiting on the set, then people introduced saying, oh, this is a Bruce Lee, this is Sammo, blah, blah.
He trained with him, fought him, and witnessed his greatness up close. What was Bruce really like? Was he as fast and powerful as people say? And why has Sammo kept quiet all these years? In this shocking revelation, Sammo Hung breaks his silence and shares untold stories about the martial arts icon. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss this. Sammo Hung's revelation about Bruce Lee. In a career that has spanned over 7 decades, Hong Kong action movie legend Sammo Hung has finally broken his silence about what he thinks about martial arts legend Bruce Lee.
I should have fight with the Bruce Lee. Did you heard the story? Just look at me. Yes. What do you want? You want to try to fight? Something like that. Then what can I say? Okay.
Sammo Hung, aged 72, in a recently conducted interview in Hong Kong after he received a Lifetime Achievement Award, opened up about his experiences with the iconic Bruce Lee, which, for decades, fans have wondered about. What did he say about Bruce Lee? And what was his experience with the martial arts legend like? Now, before we delve into the hidden truth of their relationship, let's take a quick look at Sammo Hung's illustrious career. This might just be the beginning of what is about to be revealed. Sammo Hung was born into a showbiz family. His career began as a child actor while at the China Drama Academy, a Peking opera school in Hong Kong. He reportedly made his film debut in the early 1960s at the age of 9. According to reports, one of his biggest breaks was when he fought Bruce Lee in the opening scene of the 1973 seminal Enter the Dragon. Lee's death that year was believed to have led to the untimely ending of Game of Death. In 1978, Hung was reportedly charged with the fight choreography for the movie reshoots. In his 1977 directorial debut, The Iron-Fisted Monk, in which he also starred, Hung incorporated more of the comedy touches he had noticed audiences reacted well to in previous films. This was believed to have helped kick off a trend for comedy kung fu flicks, which was made famous by rival and collaborator Jackie Chan in classics such as Drunken Master. Despite the fact that the Hong Kong films at that time were mostly in Mandarin, Hung decided to produce all his films in Cantonese. This was reportedly due to the success recorded from the Iron-Fisted Monk movie. His 1978 Enter the Fat Dragon, which he again directed and starred in, was released in Japan as Moeo Dabugon. All of his subsequent films, which included Dabugon Fat Man in their Japanese title, were explained by film critic and producer Junidoki during his introductory remarks. Hung was seen as instrumental in the creation of the zhangshi genre of horror kung fu in the 1980s, which was inspired by his childhood love of ghosts and monsters. According to reports, Hung was always thinking about new elements he could add to his action movie, and barely took any time off during the golden era of Hong Kong cinema. Though young at that time, it was believed that his dedication and hard work helped him to go at a very good pace, and making movies was preferable to rest for him. While the 1990s didn't see Hung reach the heights of previous decades at home, he reportedly starred in 2 seasons of CBS's Martial Law from 1998 to 2000. This made him a rare East Asian lead on a U.S. broadcast network show. According to reports, he co-starred with Arsenio Hall in a show that was reportedly a surprise hit, despite his dialogue being limited by his English ability. Hung was later reported to have acknowledged that the hardest part of it all was the language. According to him, he hoped everyone would learn Chinese to make it easier for him. Now let's take a look at how Hung met Bruce and what he really thinks about him. Get ready for yet another shocking revelation that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Sammo Hung and Bruce Lee's early days and relationship. Long before Sammo Hung met Bruce Lee, he was reportedly working with King Hu, who happened to be a visionary filmmaker. Reports have it that Hung began to officially work under Hu on A Touch of Zen, the 1971 film that went on to win the technical grand prize at the Cannes Film Festival in 1975. Just a few years later, when he was making his own directorial debut in the 1977's The Iron-Fisted Monk, Hung found himself doing more than 40 takes for a close-up shot of the actor Fung Hak-on. As Hung's own career took off, the two went their separate ways. It was revealed that one of the last times Hung saw Hu was in the outdoor car park of a Hong Kong hotel, and was believed to have been invited by Hu to join him in the Battle of Ono, which was supposed to be Hu's American feature debut before he died in 1997. During the same period that Hung worked with Hu, he was reported to have gotten acquainted with Bruce Lee. According to reports, Hung was working as the martial arts choreographer on the 1973 movie Thunderbolt when Lee came on set inside the Golden Harvest studio to visit some people. Hung, who later gave a detailed explanation during the interview in Hong Kong of how they got off to a friendly sparring match, said he told Lee that he was awesome. He, however, revealed that Lee misunderstood his compliment and asked if he wanted to fight. Hung then revealed that before he could give a reply by raising his leg to waist level, Lee's foot was already in his face. Hung said he responded by saying, "Well done." This was believed to have led to a rematch in the iconic opening fight in the Enter the Dragon movie. Hung later recalled that he didn't really get to spend much time with Bruce Lee, but his artful cinematic work made a big impression on him. Sammo Hung, who described Bruce Lee as a guiding star and a mentor, said that he was heartbroken when Lee died so young and noted how it shocked people, not only in Hong Kong, but all around the world. He revealed how his fans and those of them in the industry who respected him so much were devastated. Hung maintained that regardless of what transpired during the fight between them, it was just a friendly test of each other's skills, and that Bruce Lee was, and still is, his hero. After Bruce Lee's death, Sammo Hung was reported to have been tasked by Raymond Chow to complete the fight coordination for the reshoot of Game of Death. Sammo Hung's fight with Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon is now considered iconic and a potential beginning of MMA. With Bruce Lee dead a long time ago and Sammo Hung past his prime, both have undoubtedly built lasting legacies in the martial arts industry. But how great were their legacies? Stick around to the end for a surprise twist. Sammo Hung and Bruce Lee's enduring legacies. Martial arts legends. Sammo Hung and Bruce Lee left a lasting impact on the world of entertainment. While Lee's legacy is mainly defined by his superior physical fitness and technical fighting skills, Hung emphasizes the physical authenticity that defines Hong Kong action, while acknowledging modern techniques. The philosophical tenets developed by Lee during his short life are reported to have received less attention, and his martial arts style is believed to have summed up the synthesis of the dual part of his life. According to the Bruce Lee Foundation's website, the techniques and philosophies of Jeet Kune Do are believed to be applicable to real combat, as well as challenging life situations. Perfect awareness of one's own body and peace with one's own place in the world is believed to be vital to Lee's life work. The most important part of Lee's legacy is believed to be what he did for Asian actors in Hollywood. Reports have it that he was the first truly bankable Asian American Hollywood star, and despite his untimely death, he managed to pave the way for future generations. He was one of the first Asian American stars to have a starring role in a major international movie, but his role as a well-read philosopher and thinker is widely believed to deserve more attention from history. The book, Artist of Life, reportedly takes excerpts from his own private diaries. His legacy is now reportedly carried on by his daughter, Shannon Lee, who gives regular interviews and hosts a podcast about her father.
Such a huge impact in the world. There's nowhere I can go where people don't know who he is.
Sammo Hung, on the other hand, has seen it all. From battling Bruce Lee on screen in Enter the Dragon in 1973 to bossing Donnie Yen behind the camera as the action director of Ip Man in 2008, the legendary martial artist now wields influence as jury president of this year's Asian Film Awards. The man who helped define Hong Kong action cinema for generations is now reportedly evaluating its future. The martial arts icon, whose career spans over 7 decades, has transitioned seamlessly between acting, directing, and producing. Hung is believed to have crafted some of the most influential martial arts films in cinema history. In a recent interview, when asked about the evolution of martial arts choreography from the classic Golden Harvest days to today's spectacles, Hung remained philosophical. He said he thinks there's not much difference, and that it always evolves with time and evolves with trends. Hung's collaborations with Jackie Chan and Yuen Biao are believed to have produced countless iconic moments in action cinema. Of all his many roles in the industry, Hung reportedly finds directing the most challenging. Hung's unique blend of physical prowess and humor has been his trademark. In an interview, Hung explained that it is important from his own perspective and personality to incorporate comedy into action films. He emphasized that he's not only making kung fu or martial arts films, but he's also making films that people can enjoy and have fun. Having worked with Bruce Lee early in his career and more recently with Donnie Yen, Hung reflected on the stark contrast between these experiences. He said when he was working with Bruce Lee, he was influenced by him significantly because he's the boss and always told him what to do, but in the case of Donnie Yen, he's the boss, and so he tells him what to do. As for his legacy, Hung hopes to inspire the next generation. He said it's hard for him to make a film that looks like what he did in the past. He described it as quite impossible, and that he only hoped that the young filmmakers would watch his previous films, learn something, and get inspiration from him. Hung, whose age has naturally impacted his physical capabilities, but not his commitment, said when he was younger he could do far more action stunts compared with what he can do right now. He admitted he's getting older now, but still does his best, and will still do what he can do within his ability or range. As Sammo Hung finally breaks his silence, one thing becomes clear. Bruce Lee was more than just a legend. He was a force of nature. His speed, power, and passion were real, and those who knew him best never doubted his greatness. Lee's one-inch punch. Bruce Lee's one-inch punch is the most well-known move in martial arts history. As its name suggests, the one-inch punch is a technique martial artists use to hit targets at incredibly close range. The thought that, if done right, an attacker can exert enough force to bring down his opponent makes it unique. Bruce Lee's one-inch punch gained widespread recognition as early as the 1960s, about 10 years before Lee rose to prominence as a global martial arts celebrity. Lee became famous when he demonstrated it at the Beach Karate National Championship. At the time, the martial arts community took notice of him widely. Interest in Lee's one-inch punch increased dramatically as his notoriety increased. Although Lee made the move so famous that many renowned martial artists from different kung fu forms now utilize it, Lee remains the most well-known practitioner of the technique. Keep watching. The story is just getting interesting. Lee did not come up with the one-inch punch suddenly in 1964. It is based on Chinese martial arts in general and the instruction he received as a teenager. Lee's martial arts expertise began in the 1950s when he trained under Wing Chun Grandmaster Wing Chun, who laid the groundwork for Lee's form of kung fu, Jeet Kune Do. The one-inch punch's tenets derive from its theory, since Wing Chun is a fighting style for close quarters. Lee was already acquainted with techniques designed for close quarters combat because of his training in Wing Chun. Before the one-inch punch was publicly unveiled, Bruce Lee's pupil, James DeMille, provided insight into Lee's development method. He claimed that Lee developed an enhanced version of an already known Wing Chun move. Lee attempted to shorten the technique by experimenting with various stances and angles, since he thought it would be more effective if performed from a closer range. Eventually, they found a combination that worked. Lee demonstrated its power once by throwing someone 16 feet back and landing them squarely in a chair. Lee's accuracy, instant execution, speed, a crucial attribute for which the actor is currently well known, and the precise angle at which he accomplished it are all responsible for his accomplishments. Bruce Lee's one-inch punch is mighty because of his speed, which is also one of the reasons so few martial artists have been able to replicate it so well. Lee's father taught him the foundations of martial arts. During his teenage years, Lee got entangled in gang disputes in Hong Kong, which resulted in a lot of street battles. Lee's studies of Wing Chun had the most significant impact on his development as a martial artist. After suffering defeats at the hands of rival gang members, 16-year-old Lee trained in Wing Chun under Ip Man in late 1956 and early 1957. Form practice, sticking hand drills, wooden dummy techniques, and free sparring were the main components of Ip's regular lessons. The classes followed no predetermined schedule. Between 1956 and 1958, Edward, the coach of the St. Francis Xavier's college boxing team, trained Lee in boxing. In 1958, Lee defeated Gary Elms, the defending champion, via knockout in the Hong Kong Schools Boxing Championship final. Following his relocation to the US, Lee was significantly impacted by heavyweight boxing champion Muhammad Ali, whose moves he observed and adopted into his style during the 1960s. Lee advocated mixed martial arts training and was especially interested in grappling. In addition to Jean Labelle, Lee received instruction from several judo practitioners in Seattle and California, including Fred Sato, Jesse Glover, Taki Kimura, Hayward Nishioka, and Wally J. He studied as much as he taught, and many of his early pupils were skilled in judo and other martial arts. On the set of The Green Hornet, Lee became friends with Labelle and offered to teach him striking arts in exchange for learning grappling tactics. Lee's grappling tactics. Prominent grapplers Lou Thez and Ed Lewis had taught Labelle to catch wrestling, and vital judo and catch wrestling techniques can be found in Lee's Tao of Jeet Kune Do. Ji Han-jai, the Hapkido instructor, also taught him some grappling techniques. Glover claims that Lee's main observation about judo's ineffectiveness was when it came to seizing the opponent. During their first training session, Glover demonstrated an Osoto Gari for Lee, which Lee thought was a good technique, but he didn't appreciate that Glover had to cling to Lee. Lee learned how to avoid being tackled or taken to the ground by opponents while living in Seattle. Glover said that Lee would not go to the ground if he could get you standing up. Still, Lee told Labelle that he wished to incorporate judo into his fighting technique. He added judo throws, arm locks, and chokeholds to Jeet Kune Do, including the Osoto Gari. Lee showcased grappling moves in his films, including Way of the Dragon, where his character finishes his opponent Chuck Norris with a neck hold inspired by Labelle. Lee felt grappling was not very useful in action choreography because it was not visually distinctive. In addition, Lee and Han-jae trade grappling techniques in Game of Death, and Lee uses wrestling to subdue Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's character. The training regimen of the Great Gama, an Indian-Pakistani Pelwani wrestling champion renowned for his strength in the grappling hold, also impacted Lee. Lee used Gama's workouts as part of his regimen, but that's not all. The Dragon Flag Bruce Lee was an extreme sportsman. According to his widow, Linda Lee, he would watch TV athletes perform full splits and never miss an opportunity to work out. Bruce's wife claimed that he would practice and hone his talents virtually every minute of the day. He knew he would need to put in a tremendous deal of practice and exercise to be the best martial artist in the world. Building up his core was Lee's top priority out of all the muscles in his body, since he felt that the stomach region, or core, is involved in practically every movement and is crucial in martial arts. Lee created what is now known as the Dragon Flag in his honor to strengthen his core. It is regarded as one of the most challenging core workouts available if you can't figure it out. Since Lee didn't play around, though Lee is said to have been able to sustain his entire body on the edge of a bench with only his shoulders touching anything, while the rest of his body remained perfectly rigid and horizontal to the ground. Stallone may have popularized the move in Rocky IV. These days, martial artists worldwide use Bruce's dragon flag exercises as a standard because of his ability to make martial artists understand the value of having strong core muscles. Stay tuned. The best part of the video is just around the corner. Lee's superhuman strength. Bruce Lee's sheer power is one of his accomplishments that many people fail to recognize. Although it may seem apparent that a martial artist must possess strength, most people are unaware of Bruce Lee's actual level of strength. Most people think that having very massive muscles equates to strength. Most likely, when you imagine someone who is powerful, you envision someone roughly 6 feet tall with more muscles than they could need. But Bruce Lee was a tiny man, but he possessed strength beyond the reach of most people's imaginations. Examining his training bags is a simple method to demonstrate this. Bruce practiced punching and kicking with training bags like other people do, but he would devour these packages in an instant. He would frequently pound through or rupture standard punching bags to the point where it became inconvenient for him to use them. Bruce would therefore have to locate denser, heavier sacks that would not break under the impact of his extraordinary power. Remember that a typical punching bag weighs roughly 50 kilograms. However, Bruce frequently had to utilize bags weighing more than 135 kilograms. According to reports, Bruce was able to kick these bags many feet into the air, which just served to highlight how amazing things are. Bruce could send these sacks moving, but if you tried to kick one yourself, they probably wouldn't move more than an inch or two when you made contact. Bruce Lee understood the human body like a pro. Not only could he perform an astonishingly high quantity of push-ups, but he could complete them with just one hand. He was once put through a test to determine how many push-ups he could complete. Bruce boldly decided to go further and challenged himself to perform push-ups with just 2 fingers. He accomplished more than 200 push-ups in this try. Later, he set a higher standard and accomplished at least 100 push-ups using his thumb. If that weren't enough, he frequently performed hundreds of pull-ups with just one hand. But there's still another awe-inspiring accomplishment. Bruce Lee could perform more than 1,500 consecutive push-ups without pausing if you were to judge him only on his standard form. Although that is utterly unbelievable, that is the reality. There was no man like this. That's not all. Bruce Lee enthusiasts have long known this, but those unfamiliar with martial arts might not. Bruce Lee was acclaimed as one of the world's best martial arts actors when he shot to fame in the 1960s and 1970s. But he came dangerously close to failing in the film industry. You might wonder why, since he was just too quick. Filmmakers could not capture Bruce Lee's movements in real time when they worked on The Green Hornet, one of his most well-known TV series. We now own cameras capable of recording at 30, 60, 120, or even 240 frames per second. However, most cameras in the 1960s and 70s had trouble recording film at a speed of only 24 frames per second. As a result, most of Bruce Lee's fight scenes appeared incorrectly in the film. As the filmmakers soon discovered, Bruce could throw 9 punches in a second. In addition, he had a 6-second kickoff speed. Bruce appeared motionless in numerous combat scenes because capturing his movements on a camera that could only capture 24 frames per second at most was difficult. Producers on the set then claimed that the footage they captured showed Bruce standing still as his foes descended around him. In actuality, though, his talent was too outstanding for the movies to match. The filmmakers had to ask Bruce to slow down so they could follow him properly, which helped to correct the dilemma. But even after that, his movements appear quite hazy on camera. If you enjoy watching martial arts movies, you've watched Karate Kid before. When you watch the movie again, you probably remember a scene where Daniel LaRusso practices using chopsticks to capture flies. What looks easy on the surface turns out to be quite challenging. Bruce Lee, though, would go one further. Regretfully, there was never a flawless photo of this accomplishment. However, according to reports, Bruce Lee would throw pieces of rice into the air and use chopsticks to catch them. He took this action to sharpen his reflexes in the most remarkable manner imaginable. He was reportedly very expert at it, seeing the rice practically every time it was thrown into the air. His reflexes were significantly quicker than any of his rivals at the moment. And after all these years, nobody has been able to equal or exceed his achievements. It seems so complex that many people today question whether Bruce Lee was able to accomplish this accomplishment at all. However, this is simply one more instance of Bruce Lee's superhuman abilities. Jeet Kune Do. Bruce Lee is the creator and practitioner of Jeet Kune Do, also known as JKD. It is a hybrid martial art that translates to way of the intercepting fist in Chinese. It developed as a new school of martial arts philosophy from Lee's experiences in unarmed combat and self-defense and eclectic Zen Buddhist and Taoist beliefs. As an eclectic martial art, it relies on a fighting style heavily influenced by Wing Chun, Tai Chi, Taekwondo, boxing, fencing, and Jiu-Jitsu. Bruce Lee himself never formalized Jeet Kune Do before his death, forcing later JKD practitioners to rely upon their interpretation of the philosophy created by Bruce Lee. The central idea of Jeet Kune Do is the interception of the opponent and making corresponding responses or counterattacks that strike at incoming attacks. JKD also incorporates principles to help practitioners make instant decisions and improve the physical and mental self. The story just got much more enjoyable. 4 universal combat truths that Lee believed were self-evident and, if followed, would lead to combat success were incorporated into Jeet Kune Do. He thought that the 4 combat ranges in particular were crucial to his development as a total martial artist. Additionally, mixed martial arts are mostly tied to this principle. The intercepting idea comes from the belief held by JKD practitioners that a potent offense is always the best defense. Lee thought an opponent had to approach a target to attack them. This presented a chance to intercept that assault or motion. Intercepting physical attacks is not the only application of the interception principle. According to Lee, many nonverbals and telegraphs, subtle motions that an opponent is blind to, can be read or intercepted and utilized to one's benefit. Forming the offensive aspect of JKD, the 5 ways of attack are attacking categories that assist practitioners of Jeet Kune Do organize their fighting repertoire. The defensive part of JKD consists of the ideas of stop strikes and stop kicks, and simultaneous parrying and punching, which were taken from European fencing and Wing Chun's principle of simultaneous striking and defending. Lee adapted these ideas for unarmed combat and incorporated them into the JKD framework. Additionally, these ideas support the other interception principle. Lee said martial arts systems ought to be as adaptable as feasible. He frequently utilized the analogy of water to explain why flexibility is a valued quality in martial arts. Water has limitless flexibility. It can be seen through, yet it may also sometimes make objects invisible. It can break apart, circumnavigate obstacles, reassemble on the opposite side, or smash through obstacles. It can flow by the tiniest pebble or slowly lap at the toughest boulders to dissolve them. These are the qualities Lee thought a martial system ought to possess. Because of this rigidity, JKD students reject conventional fighting tactics, training regimens, and Confucian pedagogy in traditional Kung Fu schools. JKD is an incredibly flexible dynamic idea because it is constantly changing. Bruce Lee is credited with saying, "Take what is beneficial, throw away what is useless." It is encouraged by JKD students to study every possible kind of warfare. This is thought to increase one's understanding of other combat techniques, build up one's armory, and teach one how to counter such strategies. Lee, the magician. If you've ever watched a magician up close, you've undoubtedly seen this timeless trick of taking a coin from behind someone's ear. Most magicians master this fundamental trick at some time in their careers. Unbelievably, Bruce Lee used to execute an identical feat for his followers. Bruce Lee would offer you a coin and place it in your hand, rather than hiding one behind your ear. He would want you to extend your hand as far apart as possible. Bruce then had you close your palm before he could take the coin from you, detecting even the slightest movement on his part. No one could ever stop this man from taking the coin out of someone's palm because of how fast he moved, but Bruce continued to refine the trick over time, making it even more impressive. Bruce would not only take the penny before the person could close their hand, but he would also replace it with a different one. Whenever you believed the situation was under control, he would open your palm and show you that a new coin had been inserted. Imagine, please, if this man had chosen to use his abilities for evil rather than good. He would have been an expert swindler. Fortunately, Bruce made a far more honorable life choice: Lee's legacy and impact. As a pop culture hero of the 20th century who united East and West, Lee is regarded by some commentators and martial artists as the most influential martial artist of all time and time, ranking Lee among the top 100 significant individuals of the 20th century. Lee has been the subject of several biographies. More than 4 million copies of a biography had been sold by 1988. Mixed martial arts, or MMA, is a combat sport inspired by Jeet Kune Do, a hybrid martial arts ideology developed by Bruce Lee that draws from several combat techniques. Bruce Lee popularized the idea of mixed martial arts in the West with his Jeet Kune Do system. According to Lee's beliefs, the most excellent combatant can change with the times, be unstructured, take on a unique style, and disregard established norms. Many people's interest in martial arts can be mainly attributed to Lee. Among them are several combat sports fighters who cite Lee as an inspiration. Boxing great Sugar Ray Leonard claimed he learned how to perfect his jab from watching Lee. Boxing great Manny Pacquiao likened Lee to his fighting style. And UFC champion Conor McGregor has drawn comparisons between himself and Lee, stating he thinks Lee would have won the UFC if he were still competing today. In the 1970s, Lee inspired Joe Louis and Benny Urquidez to start full-contact kickboxing events in the United States. Jun Gu Ri, the father of American Taekwondo, acquired what he refers to as the occupancy from Lee and adapted it into his style. The heavyweight boxing champion Muhammad Ali learned the occupancy from Ri, who later became his coach. Ali utilized this technique to submit Richard Dunn in 1975. Everyone wanted to be Bruce Lee. In the 1970s, heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson claimed. John Jones, the current UFC heavyweight champion, credited Lee as an inspiration. Jones is well known for often employing the oblique kick to the knee, a move made famous by Lee. The former UFC middleweight champion Anderson Silva has also mentioned Lee as an influence. Several other UFC competitors have called Lee their grandfather or godfather of mixed martial arts, and many have cited him as an inspiration. Lee is recognized for having influenced how Asians were portrayed in American movies. He disproved notions about Asian men that they are weaker than men. Tough, strong, and sexy is how University of Michigan lecturer Hye-Seung Chung described Lee's portrayal of Asian males, breaking with previous preconceptions that portrayed them as emasculated, infantile, coolies, or domestic servants. Lee's fame also created a new Asian stereotype, the martial artist. At first, audiences in North America who saw his films were primarily Hispanic, Asian, and Black.
Like when Brandon Lee died, he died on a set of a movie in a special effects scene. They shot him with a fake gun, a gun with blanks, but there was some piece of a shell or something that was still in the chamber of the gun, and that shot into him.
There aren't many people who die and are actively mourned and celebrated after more than half a century has passed, but Bruce Lee is one of such legends. While his life was one of great impact, his death is possibly one of the biggest controversies in the Hall of Fame.
Bruce, are you feeling better now? It's time to get up. Oh, come on. What's the matter? What's the matter? Wake up! Oh my God, wake up!
It is no surprise then that Joe Rogan, the famous podcaster, comedian, and UFC commentator, has made some revelations about how Bruce Lee died.
This is crazy. It says he died from a cerebral edema.
Right. Some Chinese guy could tell you anything. Listen, my father died of a heroin overdose, a heroin overdose. They told me he died of a heart attack.
But what could he have found? And how does it confirm the medical reports released at the time of Lee's death? And could there be possible ties to the death of Bruce Lee's son 20 years after?
44 caliber bullet was removed from Lee's body. Detectives are proceeding with the investigation.
Join us as we reveal everything about how Bruce Lee died. What do you think about Sammo Hung's revelation about Bruce Lee, their relationship, and their legacies in the world of martial arts? Do share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click on the following video showing